Okay, we are live. My name is Attorney Vincent Davis, and this is Fight CPS and Win, the evidence show. I'm going to try to start doing little evidence seminars on Wednesday nights, as I announced last night. So we do have a guest tonight, and it says Stick Strong.
Yes, my name's Jessica.
Okay, Jessica, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. You're a guest tonight, and where are you coming from?
I'm from Northeast PA.
Okay. And what's going on in Northeast PA with respect to CPS?
A lot. The same thing as it's going on all over the world. Just a different state, different county, different, like you guys call it CPS, some people call it DIFAS. Here it's CYS, Children and Youth Services. And I currently have an open case, and I've been fighting it.
Go ahead. You've been fighting it for how long?
For about, this month is the 15th month. I have a court date coming up in the next week or so. And I got one of my kids back. I have a paid attorney who is a dependency attorney, the only one I could find. I did my research and called over 300 people and then some, and couldn't find anybody. They were all just family law or this or that. And this one is, I mean, you're going to laugh. In the population in my area is maybe 1,200 plus minus on a good day until the tourists come. And then there's about maybe 40,000. So this lawyer maybe has like 20 under her belt.
20 what?
Like doing it, like being in the CPS, like, you know, doing the cases. She's only had that. She was a former solicitor for CYS, which is what they call the CYS's attorney here as a solicitor. And she used to be that. Then she was a caseworker. Then she was a guardian ad litem. And then she was a CYS attorney. And then again after that. And now she does private for herself and has her own practice.
Do me a favor, would you? Would you text me or message me her name and telephone number?
Right now?
Yeah. You see there's a private chat.
Oh, okay.
You see that private chat? You click on that. And just
I used my phone the last time, so I'm using my daughter's computer. So,
when is your next court hearing?
On the 18th. But the funny thing is I was watching a couple of your shows, and I think you mentioned in one of the shows that out of nowhere, the CYS solicitor has been the solicitor for this county for a long time. Out of nowhere, after I brought my expert witness in and paid for my expert witness to testify and everything like that, and didn't want to go through their contracted service providers, they kept saying, well, why don't you want to entertain it when we're paying for it, even including transportation? Because it's biased, and I just don't want to do that. So they got mad. The CYS solicitor like jumped down my therapist's throat, yelled at him, called him like all kinds of things, like how you dare you do this. And when your client is recommended to do DBT therapy, not CBT therapy, which I'm doing CBT therapy because nobody in this area does DBT therapy. That was recommended from a parental fitness evaluation that I did 6 hours, like west of here. They only do that on the West Coast. They don't do it here on the East Coast. They don't do they do dialectical behavioral therapy down that way, not over here. You can't find nobody to do it. But that's what they recommended. And mind you, throughout all my court hearings now, I don't know what I don't know what stage I'm at. I just know it's the 15 month. I don't know the name of anything. So
okay, well hold on, Jessica. That's extremely important.
Yeah, but they don't tell you.
Well,
I just know it's like 15 months.
Your attorney can tell you.
She just, all I know is she mentioned, well, because I didn't have her right from the start, Vince. I got tricked into that, no trial deal thing. I had a public defender. Well, I had COVID when my kids were removed. That's how it started. Then they played the game when all the people that were in my house during the situation in the removal, they were all in the courthouse. They could all be around and they didn't have to quarantine, but I did. And I couldn't even have a Zoom visit. I had to do it over the phone, and they didn't want to do nothing. Then I come 3 days later, which they call the 72-hour hearing, 3 days after the fact of the removal. I go for that hearing. I get a public defender. The public defender says, oh, you just got to do this, 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 and this, and you'll have your kids back. Okay, I did this, and that, and I wasn't getting anywhere. So about 3.5, 4 months in is when after calling from the day one all the way until the 4th month is when I finally found her and hired her, and she had to get the other public defender withdrawal off the case so she can become my attorney. And that took like whatever she had to send paper, I don't know however they do it to become my attorney. And then so she's only been at 2, but the first court hearing she went to, she got me unsupervised visits right away, and then they were going to do it in-home dependency until the one lady that was doing my supervised visits got up there and said there was no safety threat, there's no safety risk, I'm not this, I'm not that. But when the guardian ad litem cross-examined her and said at the end, well, how would you feel? Because the recommendation was on the table that day for my kids to go home. And then the guardian ad litem said to he's like, how would you feel if the girls went home today? She goes, I'd be concerned. And I went, oh my God. And then that was it. The court, everybody like adjourned for like a couple of minutes. And then next thing you know, they come in and it was like, I don't know what just happened. It was over and we were getting left. And I didn't get my kids. They said they had to leave my kids together. They didn't want to separate my kids. Well, they both got taken at the same time. Why don't they get returned at the same time? Now I got my one daughter back, but not the other one.
Why didn't they get, that's in my mind, just my mind. That's almost impossible.
Exactly. You already deemed me fit by when you first gave me unsupervised visits. Then I had to do this return, like step down plan, as you guys might call it, or return home plan.
What was the rationale for them not giving you both kids back?
I had a former relationship with my 17-year-old before my 2-year-old nonverbal. That doesn't know me. My 17-year-old knows me as mommy, not her. She calls the research.
What child was given back to you?
My older one.
And what child wasn't?
My younger one, my 3-year-old. She's 3 now. It happened when she was 2.
Where is she living?
With the quote-unquote resource home or foster lady.
Why isn't the child with a family member or family friend?
I don't where I lived. I was born in New York, lived in New York. I moved out here to PA, and I lost all my family. In 2019, I lost my grandmother, dad, my sister, everybody. So I really don't have nobody. It's just me and my girls. And basically they made it where I can't have no friends. I can't have a boyfriend. I can't, because I'm in this like really intense in-home dependency, supposedly, where I didn't even know I was in that because my lawyer didn't even know that. We still don't even know what the recommendations were after the last court hearing for my little one. But my ex was in court in jail on a Zoom visit, and they talked to him beforehand, and he agreed to whatever those recommendations were. And still to this day, after we left court, my lawyer don't even know because she's been reaching out, and nobody returned her call. And we just found out that the solicitor stepped down. So now there's no solicitor and there's no attorney, but I got a court date coming up. So why would they do that, Vince?
I couldn't tell you.
I know. I think you said it or mentioned it in a show before. They try to do that or try to mix up like something towards the end of the case or something. Because my daughter's thing on the family service plan, none of it was ever entered into evidence. The evaluations, the recommendations, nothing was ever entered into evidence. And it did say 2 months for my one daughter, my little one. And now all of a sudden, after the last court hearing, now it says I get the paper after the court hearing, like a week later in the mail. Now I don't have full compliance or substantial progress when they gave me the rating in the court. And now all of a sudden I get the same rating as my ex, which is nothing, no compliance or moderate or whatever. And now it's undetermined.
Huh.
And at 15 months, they can adopt your kids out here in PA. So I think they were dragging their feet because I hear them all talking about like they're, this one's adoptable or that one, they don't want the damaged goods. I just know how they all are there, and they've been wanting my daughter since the day she was born. They didn't care about, and I'm not the offending parent. The only one allegation was I couldn't ensure my kid's safety because of my ex, and he didn't even live with me. But I had a custody agreement, but CYS here says, oh, nope, that ain't got nothing out of my hands. Since I have primary physical custody and he only has visitations, I have to be responsible for everything, even if when he has her and if, say, he's having a drug raid, that's my responsibility. I should have known about that. Because so he gets away with it. It's just a joke here, Rince. It's like I just don't know what to do at this point because everything I've done, I've had over 300 sessions with family counselors. I have to do individual counseling. I have to do victims therapy. I have to do DBT/CBT therapy. I got to do domestic violence. Then I got to work. Then I've been obtaining, maintaining the whole time, which that it doesn't matter. I understand that because I've already seen that. Because I've done everything. Every time they court ordered me to, or not even court ordered, because none of it was, it's just recommendations. They court ordered me, say, do this. The psychological or the mental health evaluation. Oh, we don't want that. You guys dragged your feet and made up excuses why you couldn't find somebody to send me to. Then all of a sudden, oh no, we didn't want the mental health evaluation. We want a parental fitness evaluation. So then send me 6 hours away to horse and buggy land in Amishville town to go have this parental fitness evaluation. The lady saw me for 45 minutes and I was by myself in a room doing some little bubble test by myself, answering ABC. And she wrote up a 36-page report, said that I had a 45 IQ and that I'm disabled. And now they're trying to use that against me. And in that recommendation, it says that I needed a neuropsychological evaluation now. That's how they're dragging it on. So we couldn't find nobody to do that because they don't do that around here. So then they couldn't find nobody. The court couldn't find nobody. My lawyer couldn't find nobody. But this whole time I was looking. I finally found somebody. Then they go, oh, we know, we got somebody. Oh, now all of a sudden 4 months later, you didn't have nobody the whole time. And now you got somebody because I'm going to pay for somebody to get one done. Now you're stepping on my feet. Now you want to know who those people are. Now they're trying to pay for they tried to pay for it the other day, and I got and stepped on their feet and paid for it and had it on Monday, the neuropsychological evaluation. It's only for people that have traumatic brain injuries. I don't have a traumatic brain injury. Not that I know of anyway. So unless my mother dropped me on the head when I was a kid, hey, I don't know. But that's my situation basically.
Well, are you and your attorney ready for the next court hearing?
No, because she just don't have no strategy or nothing because nobody's contacting her back because after the last court hearing, the last thing she said to me was, I'm going to make some phone calls and put whatever she was going to do. And then she would get back to me and let me know what it's going to be looking like moving forward. That was the last thing she stated to me. But from that point forward, she was reaching out, trying to get a hold of their attorney because their attorney knows or sees just only their perspective. She wanted to give her perspective to him. You know what I mean? Or whoever the solicitor is going to be. But we found out that they stepped down. So and she goes, now I know why that I wasn't getting any responses. So now we're just dangling here, not knowing, and the next court date is in less than 8 days.
Well, what I'm going to tell you is you're going to have to contact your lawyer by email or by text or by phone or all of the above. And you're going to have to get that information and decide what your strategy is going to be.
Yeah, that's what I've been asking her, but she said she doesn't know what she's going to do. She said she's got something in the works, but I don't know what that means. Got something in the works, that could mean a lot.
Have you seen the report for the next court hearing?
No, we didn't even receive it yet. She only verbally, when she found out and was on the phone and found out that the solicitor stepped down, they couldn't talk to the attorney, she couldn't talk to anybody because they said that they were just getting an attorney supposedly and he just received the case. So, but here's the next court hearing date, but we didn't receive the actual paperwork yet. They do everything here last minute, Vince. Like when the first court hearing I went into, I didn't know nothing, absolutely nothing. My attorney was coming in as I was getting called up to the stand, putting his tie on and fixing his this, and then he forgot the paperwork. He had to run all the way to the DA's. I don't know what office he had to go to because he didn't even have this paper. I guess for that trial, I'm assuming. And he said, "Oh yeah," and then when we get up to the stand, the judge was saying something. Did somebody force you to do this? Are you agreeing to this? And I'm agreeing to what? I don't know what is even going on. And then it was like, boom, boom, done. And it was like over. That they found my kids dependent, or however they said it. With nothing. Just only one thing of your numerous validated reports of domestic violence that came from moi and my service providers. You would have never knew what was going on if my service providers or I didn't reach out for help, and that was the worst mistake I made in my life. I know that now. I didn't
Hey,
know
Jessica,
that then.
here's a question, and it's a really good question from Kat V watching on YouTube. She said, has your attorney filed your psych evaluation as discovery?
My psych evaluation, from which I only had I had two of them, but they were all included in one. It was like a 7-hour pick your brain type deal, and then the neuropsychological one, but that didn't come back yet.
Okay, because whoever did the evaluation has written a report. And if it comes back good, you obviously want to have that report part of evidence.
Well, it wasn't. It was good. The parental fitness part of it was good. It was bad and good. But they were saying I had a disability, but I didn't have I don't have an acquired disability. So it was contradicting. It was like a 36-page report, and I don't know where they got all that information after 45 minutes. But the person wasn't even going to come to testify to that evaluation, so it didn't matter. So that's just hearsay in my eyes because it didn't even get entered into evidence.
Okay, hold
They
on.
weren't arguing that.
Hold on. This is a very good transition for us. You mentioned hearsay and you mentioned evidence. Now, tonight's show is supposed to be dedicated to evidence.
Okay.
And CPS cases. All right?
Okay.
Now, when you say it's hearsay, why do you say that?
Well, because there's nobody testifying to it, and they're not entering it in as a piece of evidence, and they're not arguing the fact of it. They're stating it in the when they're cross-examining and just telling about me or whatever and speaking on it, but not anything bad or in court. Only CPS or CYS says it to me outside of court and mentions it and just says I have to do this and that to complete the service plan. But the service plan's been not even entered into evidence either. And I never signed it either. Because they came to me 8 months after the fact.
Jessica, hold on a second. Let me reel you back in.
Okay.
My question is, why do you think that report is hearsay?
Because, like I said, no, there's not a somebody that's educated to testify to what's in that report.
Okay. So I don't know what the rule is in Pennsylvania. I would guess that it's very similar to the rule in California. And in California, hearsay is an out-of-court statement or document used in court to prove the truth of the matter therein that you're talking about. Okay. So you're talking about a report that was prepared outside of court. So technically, it fits hearsay. It fits the hearsay rule. But the analysis doesn't stop there. Okay. Because your state probably is like California and most states. You have the hearsay rule of exclusion, but you have, I'm going to exaggerate here, but you have 101 exceptions.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not going to ask you what those exceptions are either.
Right. And in this evidence series that I'm going to be doing on Wednesday nights, we'll get to the hearsay section. Okay. And to the hearsay exceptions. I can tell you that report by your doctor who did the evaluation will
No, not my
probably
doctor. CYS's doctor that's on their payroll, their contracted service provider. Not nothing. I didn't find them.
it is probably going to find its way into evidence.
It never has yet. And that was done back in July. They don't even talk about it. And my therapist that I have got on the stand this last court hearing and told the solicitor when she yelled at him, he turned around and said, listen, this report isn't even worth the paper that it's printed on. And I said, now you're going to really piss the solicitor off now. Now I don't know if I'm going to win. I'm like, so, because I didn't care at that point about who's right, don't want to be, it's like you say, you either want to be right or you want to win. I want to win. I want my kids back. I don't care about he said, she said, or the past. It's about the here and now.
By the way, Selena Garcia just posted a comment on YouTube.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my, you're the best. You guys helped me get my kids back. And then later, Selena also posted that Stephanie Davis represented me. Selena, I just want to tell you this. Yesterday, Stephanie Davis got sworn in as a judge in the Superior Court, County of Los Angeles. And her current assignment, I don't know if it'll change. Her current assignment is in juvenile dependency CPS court.
That's awesome.
So, Selena, Stephanie won your case for you. And there's a reason. Stephanie was one of the best juvenile dependency attorneys, CPS attorneys in the state of California. Very good attorney.
I wish we need some of you guys to come this way to the East Coast, over like to PA and this Commonwealth state, that like anything goes here. There's not, I'm telling you, nobody. Vince, I took 4 months every single day, at least 8 hours a day. I searched and researched and watched your videos, researched all the time trying to find an attorney. Nobody. And it was the grace of God that I found her. She's from 4 counties away from where I live. And not even, and she goes, if you were in my county, this wouldn't even happen to you. So the county that I live in is the poorest county in my area, just so you get a little backstory on that. And that's why they do a little bit of things that they do too about the money and the bonuses, how many kids they can get up so they can be supervisor and this one and that one and move up the ranks in the CYS. Jessica. When here, the social workers, I wouldn't even call them social workers in the state of PA or in my county anyway, should I say. I don't know about the rest of the state, but what my experience is, they don't even maybe have an associate's degree in early childhood development. My caseworker can't even put a car seat in a car, and she's only 21. Never had kids in her life, and she's a kid herself.
Jessica, do you think that me going over some evidentiary tips might help you in your case?
Yes, I just don't know why, and then why they would do what they've done. And then the solicitor stepped down right before the last court hearing. It's going to be the 15-month court hearing here in PA. They can adopt your kids out at 15 months. So I'm thinking like they're doing some shady, underhanded stuff that I feel that ain't right for some reason. And then the only reason why I got my older daughter back, long story short, is they almost killed my daughter. So I got her back without going to court, without going nothing. They said I wasn't even going to get her back. They were going to put her in an independent living thing and some other stuff. And we were fighting that. And then all of a sudden a situation occurred. I'm not going to state because I don't want nobody to find out who I am. State. And then all of a sudden she was coming home. There's a return home plan. They're like, oh yeah, the return home plan started. I said, oh, it did? When? What's the return home plan? They said, oh, it already started. Okay. And then they gave me the date when she was going to return. But now I'm fighting to get stuff back from them so I can get her other stuff. But they collected her Social Security all year long. Now say that she doesn't qualify for it no more. It's because they're covering up the 2 checks that they took and trying to cover up so I can't be her payee again. So I just don't know what to do. Like at this point, like I'm just worried and scared that they're going to try to adopt my 3-year-old.
Well, Jessica, I want to thank you for being on tonight and sharing with us what's going on there in PA. Will you keep in touch with us and keep us updated?
Oh, yes.
Okay, very good. Any last question you wanted to ask me?
No, just don't know what to do. So if you could give me some evidentiary tips, like you said, and some advice maybe or something. What you think?
You know,
Just your humble opinion or something.
all right, I'm trying to look for something that the producer Grace said that she posted. We have a handout for um, tonight's session. Hold on a second. Hey, Grace, why haven't you posted it on YouTube either? Okay. I'm going to, hey, Jessica, I'm sorry. I'm going to thank you again, and I want you to stay tuned because we're going to be talking some evidence here tonight. Okay.
Okay. Okay, no problem.
Thank you. Bye bye. All right. As promised, we're going to talk about evidence tonight. And I want to talk about evidence because it's one of those topics that's probably one of the most important topics in your case, but you never talk about it. I get people always talking about what the law is, what the law should be, and with respects to taking your children, keeping your children. But when you drill down to do an analysis, you have to figure out what the evidentiary burden is and what evidence is admissible and not admissible. And you and your attorney need to know how to get in evidence and how to keep certain evidence out. So I'm going to be using the California Code of Evidence. You can just Google it. And we're going to be talking about each of the different divisions of the California Code of Evidence. And the Code of Evidence in California is divided into 11 divisions. So if you had a book, there'd be 11 chapters. Each of those chapters are broken down into articles and then sections. And that's how we're going to do our analysis and our review of evidence as you go forward. Now, when you do a case, depending on what state you're in, and I'll use California as an example, you have to, when you do that hearing, you have to understand what the burden of evidence is. Right? So in California, probably in most states, there are 3 different burdens of evidence. The first one is called the preponderance of evidence. And I call that something, to carry the burden of a preponderance, you have to be at least 50% or more correct. Then the next level up is clear and convincing evidence. And that means that you have to be, in my opinion, at least 75% or more correct. And then the top one is beyond a reasonable doubt, which means you have to be at least 95% or more. Now, in California, there is no beyond a reasonable doubt burden in a CPS case. All right. There are preponderance of evidence standards, and there is a clear and convincing evidence standard. And we'll discuss that. So, the number one division in California of evidence is called the Preliminary Provisions and Constructions Division. And it covers evidence codes number section 1 through 12. The second division is called Words and Phrases Defined by the Code of Evidence, and that's sections 100 to 260. The third division of evidence are the general provisions, and that's sections 300 to 413. The fourth division is called Judicial Notice, section 450 through 460. Judicial notice is used quite a bit in CPS cases, and we'll be going through that in depth. Division 5 is called the burden of proof, burden of producing evidence, and presumptions and inferences. And that's section 500 through 670. This may be one of the most important divisions that you should understand in analyzing your case and what the social worker has to prove and what you have to prove. So when we go through that, pay special attention. I'm going to be trying to have evidentiary flowcharts made out to hand out to all of you who are watching the show or who watch the show, and hopefully that will be posted in every Facebook and YouTube channel that we're broadcasting to. Division 6 is called Witnesses, and that's sections 700 through 795 of the California Evidence Code. Division 7 is called Opinion, Testimony, and Scientific Evidence. Extremely important in juvenile dependency cases. And that's sections 800 through 870. In juvenile dependency cases, here are the things that you see regarding opinions. You see, number one, the opinion of the social worker. Number two, the opinion of the psychiatrist or psychologist. Number three, the opinion of a doctor. Was this child intentionally physically abused? Was this child sexually abused? Etc., etc. And then you also get the scientific evidence. And for example, you tested positive on a drug screen. Well, typically, if you analyze that, the social worker saying that you tested positive can be challenged in many different ways. One of the ways is to show that the person who did the drug test did not follow what's used in most states and in California, the Kelly-Fry rule. Okay. And those are rules of evidence set up by case law. And they basically say, hey, if you have some type of scientific test, like a drug test, that doesn't get admitted into evidence unless you satisfy the Kelly-Fry rule. Now, in juvenile dependency cases, you rarely hear someone say, I challenge the positive drug screen under Kelly-Fry. You rarely hear that. As a matter of fact, I think I mentioned this on a show. I'm right in the middle of a trial right now, and I made that objection, and the judge looked at me like I was from Mars. So we were talking about Division 5, 6, Division 7. Oh, we were just talking about opinion, testimony, and scientific evidence. Division 8 are privileges, certain privileges in evidence and in the law. That's sections 900 through 1070. Division 9 is evidence affected or excluded by extrinsic policies. So everything that you believe should come into evidence might be excluded because of a public policy or might be included because of a public policy. And then there's Division 10, which is sections 1200 to 1390. That's the hearsay rule. All right. And then Division 11 is the writing rules, sections 1400 to 1605. So each Wednesday, I'm going to be picking a different division, different articles and different sections, and we're going to drill down deep into those sections so that you can understand. If you want to follow along, what I would suggest is that you get a copy of the evidence code, and you don't have to pay for it. The code that I'm going to be using is the California Code of Evidence, and you can get that by just Googling it. Okay, so if I say we're going to cover Evidence Code Section 100, basically you can just go to Google, type in California Code of Evidence 100, and it'll pop up, and you can see it, and you can read it. You can follow along with us. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing on Wednesday nights going forward in the future. If anyone has any questions they want to post in the chat that where you're watching this live stream, go ahead and do so now. And we're going to be wrapping up the show pretty quickly. All right. Let me bring back Jessica. Hey, Jessica, you still there? Oh, you're muted. I think you muted yourself.
Yes, I did. I was about to write my attorney's name in the private chat
Oh, okay.
as
Very
you were
good.
talking.
All right. Before you do that, did you have any questions or comments about the evidence stuff?
No, I actually wrote down all my notes while you were talking.
Okay. Very good. Oops. All righty. Well, thank you, and we'll be in touch with you soon. All right. So that's what we're going to be doing on Wednesday nights going forward, and Thursdays. I think that's going to be devoted to it's either parents or relatives, and I'm going to try to focus the shows, each day on something that's relevant with respect to that topic. Not just just cover everything in one show. Like to make them more specific. All right. So I don't see any more. Oh, here's a question from 42 USC 1983. By the way, that's the federal civil rights statute. 42 United States Codes, section 1983. Where can a court order find appeal or reconsideration for free? Okay, I'm not sure, 42, if you can maybe elaborate on that. What do you mean by that question? Because I'm kind of lost on it. I'll give you a few moments. Anybody else have any other comments or questions? Please let me know. I'm writing down a private message that Jessica sent to me. Okay, Jessica, I got that attorney's name and number, and I'll be calling her. Okay. Section 40. She says, clarification, I guess, is do I need a lawyer? Yes, you need a lawyer. I forget what state you're in, 42, but you got to find a lawyer to help you in these cases. Okay, she says, judge gave a one-sided court order that I feel is unfair. All right, so if you are trying to appeal or make a motion for reconsideration, let me tell you what the rule is in California. Anytime a judge makes a decision at a court hearing or an order, you have the constitutional right to some type of appellate remedy. Now, that could be an appeal or it could be a writ. Okay. Now, this doesn't mean that if you appeal it or writ it that you're going to win, but you have the right to try to do that. All right. Appeals are mandatory, that where the Court of Appeals has to make a decision. Writs are discretionary, where the Court of Appeals could say, we're not going to bother that right now. And they don't have to make a decision. Motions for reconsideration, and this is interesting. I just had this conversation today with a very experienced attorney, and she ended up looking it up and telling me that I was right. A lot of people think that anytime a judge makes a decision that you can ask for a motion for reconsideration or you can file a motion for reconsideration. That's not true. Not true. In order to file a motion for reconsideration, you need one of two things. Okay. You need new facts that weren't known at the time of the hearing where the judge made the order that you're asking him or her to reconsider. Or you need new law that just came out either that day or the day after the hearing. Okay? So those are motions for reconsideration and appeal. So 42, if the judge did something you don't like, you need to talk to your attorney and find out, you know, what would be best for you. Sometimes filing a writ or an appeal may not be good for you, depending on the facts and circumstances and the strategy behind the case. So this is 42. You need to talk to your attorney and perhaps listen to him or her and take their advice. Okay, folks, we've come to the end of the show. I want to thank everybody for watching, and we'll see everyone tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And we're either going to be talking about representing parents or relatives in juvenile dependency court cases, and we also hope to have a guest. Alrighty, good night, everyone, and thank you for watching.